Live from Fairfax, it's the Inside Scoop, Virginia. All the news Virginians want to know. Here's your host.
Hi, my name is Shannon Sullivan. I'm your host this evening for the Inside Scoop Virginia. Tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about senior security, where it comes to frauds and scams that are plotted against our seniors in Fairfax County and around the state of Virginia, and how we can take preventative measures to educate ourselves. Maybe you are a senior, maybe you are taking care of a senior, or you are in a profession where you deal with seniors. How do we educate them so that they have self-awareness, so they know how to protect themselves against identity theft? Maybe it's Medicare, maybe it's trying to fraudulently derail all of their life savings. I have with me Juanita Balenger. She's with the Office of the Virginia Attorney General. She is the Community Outreach Coordinator. Thank you for coming with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
I think in Virginia we actually are approaching an increasingly higher number of seniors. I saw on a statistic that upcoming, maybe it's 2025, we may have 25% of the Virginia population. So this is an issue that's not necessarily affecting a minority. You know, this is someone that, or something that affects, maybe it's our grandparents, maybe it's our neighbor, but it touches close to home. And so I very much thank you for coming with us today.
Thank you for having me.
You work closely with Triad. Maybe you can describe what Triad is and how this is going to relate to tonight's show.
Absolutely. Triad is it's not an acronym. It's a partnership between the police and sheriffs and senior organizations and senior citizens. And the main purpose is to crime prevention for the elderly.
So it's a cooperative arrangement between these organizations. They work with community groups as well?
Absolutely. The initial agreement was signed between the National Sheriff's Association, the International Chiefs of Police, and AARP, and there are triads throughout the United States. And here in Virginia, we have over 90 triads that cover 226 cities, counties, and towns here in the Commonwealth.
Do we have anything close to home here in Fairfax County?
Yes, we do. We have a Fairfax triad, and we work very closely with the crime prevention officers here in Fairfax County. And some of the partners that are involved are Consumer Protection, Adult Protective Services, leaders from civic organizations, the business community, AARP, and just individual senior citizens.
Okay, so it's members from the community, whether it's senior citizens themselves, the community organizations that deal with the seniors, working collaboratively with the crime prevention units, I guess, educationally. What are some of the programs that you're running right now?
Well, some of the programs, the Fairfax Triad meets on a quarterly basis, and it's broken down what it's called our SALT Council. SALT stands for Seniors and Law Enforcement Together.
Okay.
And Triad, you can view Triad as the car. The SALT Councils are the engine that drive the Triad vehicle. And so we have SALT Councils in several. It's really broken more by police district, Springfield, Reston, Mount Vernon, Mason District, just to name a few of the areas.
Wonderful. So I guess it comes closer to home, whether there's a regional, say it's a scam that's being perpetrated against seniors, it can almost hit directly to the community.
Absolutely.
So it's I'm assuming that the seniors have the inmost, track on what their concerns are, their fears are. I was reading on your website that it's not necessarily the most predominant scam or tactic that's being, perpetrated against seniors that they may be most fearful of. But it's educating the community, educating the seniors for preventative measures in order to, I guess, provide that reassurance that can also affect one's quality of life.
Exactly. And we work with seniors to let them know that if they are a victim, not to be afraid to report that to the local police. Many times seniors are vulnerable and are the target of various scams and fraud, and they're afraid, they're embarrassed. Yeah. They feel, can't believe this happened to me. I don't want anybody to know about it. When in reality, they should come forward. They should contact the local police so the police can do a better job of knowing what's happening out there in the community and a better effort to alert others.
Absolutely. Now, why is it that seniors perhaps are a target?
There's several factors that are involved. Accessibility. Seniors are retired. They're at home during the day. so they're more prone to telephone calls or someone coming to their door. Loneliness. Seniors are living longer lives now. They're living well into their 80s and 90s and up to 100. Some of them may live home alone. Their spouses have passed away. Their children have moved away. Friends have passed away. Health is another issue where seniors are developing health issues like Alzheimer's, dementia, and it impairs their ability to remember, or their thought process gets blurred and they get hazy and fuzzy. And, and also seniors, these scam artists tend to think that seniors have a lot of money, that they worked hard all their lives, and they've invested their money well, and so they're sitting on a pot of money and more vulnerable.
It's a horrible pity, really preying upon some of the most vulnerable in our community, and that seniors would be more trusting, whether it's as you said, the isolation, looking for a confidant of some sort. And I've been reading about a number of, have it be email scams, telephone scams, mail scams. They're looking and actually trusting the person on the other end of the communication more so than family members, because it almost becomes a relationship.
Exactly. Seniors did grow up in a trusting era. When you think about how they grew up, World War II, post-World War II, back in the 50s, in communities where they left their car doors open, their front door open, and they knew everybody in the neighborhood. And a businessman would come, and they would take that businessman at their word, and things were done with a handshake and a gentleman's agreement. And we just don't operate that way anymore in today's society. It's so important to have written contracts and know exactly who you're dealing with. And when you have individuals coming forward, whether pretending to be if they're a contractor or an investor, many of these professions are licensed here in the Commonwealth. And so there are ways for seniors to find out if these individuals are legitimate.
Absolutely. There's a lot of state and federal laws that provide oversight for, as you said, these contractors, or also phone calls, telemarketing, restrictions that provide a safety net, for people to fall back upon, and also, prevent these types of crimes being prevented. I also like to take this opportunity to invite any callers that want to join our conversation. The number is 571-749-1166. Heaven forbid that you have had a crime perpetrated against you, but if you have, maybe you have anecdotal evidence as far as a relative or a community member that has had this type of unfortunate act occurred against them, do give us a call. Again, that's 571-749-1166. I believe that you have a conference coming up. That's a Triad Regional Conference?
Yes, we do. It's the Northern Virginia Regional Triad Conference. It will be held this Thursday, November 20th, at the Fairfax County Police Association Hall out in Fairfax. The conference is free to seniors, all senior citizens, or individuals that may be caretakers or provide services to seniors. Registration is from 8 to 9. Come early, get registered, and have a cup of coffee. Visit our exhibitors. We have exhibitors from federal, state, and local agencies, just to name a few, that provide services on and information on different types of fraud. We'll have the State Corporation Commission at the state level. At the federal level, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, the Federal Communications Commission, locally within Fairfax County, the Fairfax Area Agency on Aging, Fairfax Consumer Protection Office. So we've got quite a few. We're going to have about 20 exhibitors providing a vast array of services and information to seniors. We'll have our local crime prevention officers, not just in Fairfax, but we also have triads in the city of Alexandria, Arlington, Loudoun County. So some of those individuals will be coming as well. And then the conference kicks off at 9 until 2 p.m. And it will kick off with opening remarks from Fairfax County Police Chief Rohr, and our Attorney General, Virginia Attorney General Bob McDonnell, will be there as well to speak to everyone. And then following that, we'll have several sessions with valuable information. Elder abuse prevention, we'll have an expert from Adult Protective Services here in Fairfax County. Investment fraud awareness for seniors, we'll have an individual from the State Corporation Commission. Then Medicare issues. Open enrollment starts November 15th until the end of the year. And so we'll have an individual, an expert from the Fairfax Area Agency on Aging. to review what's new with Medicare, what the latest scams are involving Medicare. And then we'll have one of our Fairfax County police officers come and speak about various scams and frauds. So it's going to be very informative, and I encourage everyone, if you're new, if you're hearing this for the first time, it's not too late to sign up. We do ask for pre-registration. If you could just call into our office and register, we'd be more than happy, if you know by tomorrow that you'll be attending, to let us know.
Yeah, we do have a number on the screen. Do call. I love the concept of Triad, that it is, I guess, a reciprocal arrangement between the community and the members, the seniors themselves, and the law enforcement and the state government to provide those tools to try to tear down the isolation barrier and understand what's going on, and also give back to the seniors and the communities the tools to protect themselves. And there's the array of material that you're going to be covering at the conference on Thursday, and again, that's this Thursday, the 20th. It's phenomenal. And
well, these conferences are not just here in Northern Virginia. We have these around the Commonwealth. We do these regionally, and normally we do have a statewide Triad conference, but this year we had, coming to Williamsburg, we had the National Triad Conference just last month in Williamsburg, Virginia. The parent organization of Triad is the National Association of Triads, which is located in Alexandria, and they have recognized Virginia as a leader in the country of Triads. So we were very pleased and honored that they chose Virginia for the National Triad Conference, and it was fabulous. There were individuals, more than 300 individuals from 24 states in the District of Columbia.
Wow, I love the aggressive approach we're taking to try to fight, crime against our, most vulnerable citizens. And again, that number, if you're interested in registering for the conference this Thursday, the 20th, is 703-277-3540. And please call as soon as possible. I know space is limited, and there's a vast amount of interest in the area.
Yeah, we still have a few spaces available. So if you know you're free this Thursday and can come out, please just call and let us know.
And again, it's not just seniors themselves, but the caretakers, the community members, or those that may be in an occupation that deals with senior citizens.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Let's just go into a couple of the topics that might actually be covered in the conference itself. And I don't want to spoil all of the details, but I think that there's a lot of information we can put out to the public beforehand. We talked about why seniors might be targeted, the isolation, the vulnerability, the accessibility. Let's also talk about, we'll break it up into the non-electronic forms and the electronic forms of all of these scams and intimidation. We'll start with electronic, or the non-electronic. How about telemarketing? It seems an easy way to reach people. You said they're at home.
Absolutely, they're home. They probably call at the most inconvenient time when you're getting ready to sit down and watch dinner, or you're getting ready to watch your favorite TV show, and the phone rings and you pick it up, and it's someone that you don't know, and they're soliciting you for a product. They want to sell you a product or a service, and they use methods of intimidation or high-pressure sales. They want you to buy the product immediately, and you must make up your mind before you hang up the phone.
The intimidation there, we're going to come right back to that in a moment. There's high pressure, and a lot of seniors are vulnerable. They want to have that confidant, that relationship on the other end. But we'll get right back to that right after this public service announcement.
There's more than just books at the library.
There's more than just books at the library.
Excuse me.
There's more than just books at the library.
Il y a plus que de livres à la bibliothèque.
Hello. You have a lot of great books here today. You know there's more than just books at the library.
I know.
There's more than just books at the library.
I don't want to be hooked to a machine.
I want all the medical treatment available to me.
I wouldn't want my family to have to make this decision.
My doctor knows what's best for me.
An advance directive is your life on your terms. Talk with your family. Decide what's right for you. Then put it in writing.
Documenting my wishes today means my family won't have to make heart-wrenching decisions later.
To learn more, visit www.putitinwriting.org.
1,200 American youth run away from their homes every day. The National Runaway Switchboard is here to help. 1-800-RUNAWAY. If you are a runaway, thinking about running away from home, or a parent or guardian concerned about issues facing your child, call us 24 hours a day. 1-800-RUNAWAY. In times of crisis, hope is just a phone call away. 1-800-RUNAWAY.
Here again, the Inside Scoop, Virginia.
Welcome back to the Inside Scoop Virginia. I'm Shannon Sullivan, your host this evening, as we discuss senior security issues, whether it be frauds and scams that are perpetrated against our seniors, or just those pesky phone calls that try to get us to buy something we may not want to buy. I have with me Juanita Balenger. She's with the Office of the Virginia Attorney General.
Correct.
You are the Community Outreach Coordinator, correct?
Correct.
We had left off, we were talking about the non-electronic forms of scams and frauds that are out there, and we had started talking about telemarketing.
Yes.
You know, that pesky phone call that comes in during dinner time, and how, you know, we know they're coming. They know they want to sell us something, but sometimes there's just that catch. Something that grabs our ear that sounds just so slightly believable or too good to be true.
Exactly.
And how that, more often than not, is susceptible for our seniors.
Absolutely. They have offers that seniors find inviting, and again, getting back to what we discussed earlier, they're lonely, they're sitting at home, they don't really have anybody to talk to, and so when they answer the phone, they almost view that caller as a friend, and they sound very professional, very friendly in their approach in selling their product or service. And again, getting back to high sales pressure. They are trying to pressure you to buy the product and giving out personal information. Maybe we'll be chatting about this later with identity theft.
Absolutely.
But they're trying to get you to buy the product, and then at the end, in order to do that, they want your credit card information. And a way to avoid that is signing up for the Do Not Call registry.
And I believe we have a phone number for the Do Not Call registry is 888-382-1222. Now, what does the Do Not Call registry actually do?
Well, the Do Not Call registry, it's not going to eliminate all of the phone calls, but it will significantly reduce the number of telemarketing and solicitations that would come over the phone.
Yeah, and I believe also if you have a complaint, you can contact the Virginia Attorney General's office.
We can certainly point you in the right direction of who you need to call.
I believe that we have a number for the Virginia Attorney General's office, a consumer hotline, and that may get directed to the FCC, would be the appropriate agency that would deal with the Do Not Call registry.
Correct, but depending on the nature of the call, our staff could certainly let the caller know who they need to contact.
And I think it also needs to be pointed out, if you've put your name on a Do Not Call registry, it takes 31 days for it to be processed. So just wait a little bit of time, but there's also recourses to file those complaints if you continue to get those solicitations.
Correct.
Now, the Do Not Call registry doesn't apply to everyone.
No.
There's who was exempt? How do they slip through these cracks?
Oh, I guess most recently with the recent election cycle, campaign solicitations would be one.
Just so people understand and they don't overburden your office with calls that you wouldn't be able to field in a productive manner. So the political calls are a little bit outside
the scope.
So with the telemarketing, I guess they use a lot of those catchphrases. It's your lucky day. Maybe there's get-rich schemes, where it's risk-free. You can double your investment, and that can sound very enticing.
Yeah,
too.
that gets into investment fraud, and some of those frauds areas, for example, affinity frauds. Seniors.
Now, what's that? Can you spell it out for some of our listeners?
An affinity fraud, for example, at church or an organization, if you belong to a civic organization, a volunteer organization, an investor. Of course, you know, that's part of their marketing approach to reach out into the community. But some of these, all investors must be licensed here in Virginia, and the product that they're selling must be registered. And in order to verify the legitimacy, callers can check with the State Corporation Commission, is the governing agency that regulates this area of investment and dealing with investment fraud. But just getting back to the affinity fraud, there could be, let's say at your local place of worship, somebody joins that church or synagogue, and then they advertise in the bulletin and network with the seniors. And you know, seniors are on fixed incomes, and they may be looking for a way to make more money and earn more money. And
it's in an area where they would naturally feel more trusting.
Yes.
It's directly in their own community or their church or their synagogue.
Exactly.
So that's very unfortunate that, again, we're preying upon people that are vulnerable. You know, they're looking for those contacts in the outside world, and that friend on the phone is their new best friend. And I like that you're pointing out that whether you're selling something or however you're communicating over the phone, there's very, very strict state regulations, and I'm assuming federal regulations as well.
Yes.
They must identify themselves, I believe, first and last name, exactly, you know, what they are selling, and being able to provide information, contact information on their organization.
Exactly. And the caller can certainly, you know, they're in the driver's seat. They ought to find out the name of this person, the organization that they're with, and then do your homework. Just tell them if they're legit, they will sit and wait for you to call back. And you're in the driver's seat, go check them out and find out if they're legit and call the appropriate state agency to find out if they're licensed.
It may go as a rule of thumb, if you feel that you're being pressured, you know, and set aside, you know, being asked to give your personal information. If you are being pushed to have an answer, to commit to whatever the sales tactic is, it's probably illegitimate.
Now, exactly. Another group of individuals that could call over the phone that fall under the telemarketing category are charitable organizations.
Okay.
Now that we're approaching the holiday season, all these organizations are soliciting for year-end donations. So any charitable organization must be registered here in the Commonwealth with the Office of Consumer Affairs. So if it's somebody outside of your, let's say, American Red Cross or a nationally known organization that is asking for you to make a donation, you know, don't just say yes over the phone, and whatever you do, do not give out your credit card information to make that donation. Tell them to send something to you in the mail.
And a legitimate group will send it in writing.
Exactly. They'll send it in writing, and then you can call the Office of Consumer Affairs to find out if they're registered.
And it's probably something that needs to be pointed out as well. These groups may not go by the American Red Cross, but may go by something just so slightly off from the trade names. So that if you're not listening closely and you don't want to, you know, have someone question your hearing by asking them to repeat themselves, you could be misled or misunderstand what they're saying, and obviously the intent is to be misleading.
Correct.
We've talked about telemarketing, and there's a whole slew of different scams that go on there. How about stuff that comes across at your very doorstep?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, seniors are at home, they're retired, and a prime example are contractors. Many seniors have lived in their homes here in Fairfax County for 30 to 40 years, and they're looking eventually to downsize, maybe move to a senior retirement community. And they're looking to fix up their home to sell. And individuals could come knocking at their door and say, hey, we were in your neighborhood, and we were just down the street at your neighbor's house painting, and we have this extra paint, and we'd, you know, like to paint your home.
Sounds so convenient, and it's face-to-face.
Exactly.
How could there be any ill will?
Yeah, exactly, except that this individual knocking at the door will ask for money up front. They'll say, hey, you know, I could do this job for you, but could you pay this amount of money? It could be several $1,000s for home improvement work to your house, gutters, shingles, fixtures in the home, and they will ask for money up front. And individual seniors could give this money, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, up to $10,000, and then that so-called contractor will never come back, or they'll start the job, they'll put in an hour's work and do a little bit of work, and then they're never seen again. So it's very important to find out who that contractor is, get their name, the business that they're with, and contractors are licensed by the Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation here in Virginia.
And I think that should go with doing any type of home repairs. Make sure that you are going through a licensed individual.
Exactly, and get several bids, get it in writing, get the contract signed in writing. It's
and references. Who do you know?
Exactly.
And call them up. I mean, don't feel that you are giving them a hard time because they want to give you a nice deal on having your sidewalk paved or a new roof on your house. They are here to do a service for you. So definitely, ask all the questions that you need to.
And when you call Consumer Affairs, check into complaints, see if any complaints have been filed.
Good. And I believe we have a Consumer Affairs hotline number, so if you have any questions, do give the 1-800 number a call.
Exactly.
It's directed to the Office of the Virginia Attorney General, and it's open for your frauds, your scams, all those questions that you might have questions about.
Yes.
So along with, we've talked about the phone, we've talked about the door, how about stuff that comes across in the mail?
Well, a couple of examples that come to mind are sweepstakes scams.
Now, there's some legitimate ones out there.
There are some legitimate ones.
But sometimes you get stuff that's coming from Canada or from Europe.
Exactly.
Buy a lottery ticket? I think there's some federal regulations there.
That's the foreign lottery. I'm going to kind of separate these out, start with the sweepstakes and then move into the foreign lottery. But rule number one, if you did not enter a sweepstakes, then you should not be receiving a letter in the mail telling you that you've won $10,000. I mean, you open that letter and it just sounds so glamorous, and you're sitting in your chair and you're jumping up in the air that you've won this money. Well, it's not necessarily the case, and again, it's a scam, especially if you did not enter a sweepstakes. And find out who this organization is and do not respond. They'll ask you, more than likely in the letter, they'll say, well, in order to receive your winnings, there's a processing fee involved.
Or pay the taxes. If there's a gift.
A gift. And send your money, and they'll give you an address, or they'll tell you to wire the money. So do not do that.
I know. I think our lesson here is that there is no such thing as a get-rich-quick scheme, whether it's the lottery or whether it's a sweepstakes. Know what you've entered, and also know the scams that are out there.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that, go back to the lotteries right after this public service announcement.
Osama bin Laden calls getting nuclear weapons a religious duty.
Today, materials that can be used to make nuclear weapons are stored in more than 40 countries.
Sometimes protected by just a chain-link fence.
Yet not enough is being done to lock down these materials
before terrorists steal them.
Why did we learn all this?
My mother.
My son.
My sister-in-law.
Were all murdered September 11.
Help protect America.
Together we can.
Please join us.
The stem cell issue is being debated throughout the country. Truth is, most everyone has an opinion, even if they don't know the facts.
Let's stop arguing and start really understanding the potential of stem cell research.
For us and for millions of Americans living with disabilities, get the facts.
Call 1-877-842-3442 for free information from the Stem Cell Research Foundation. That's 1-877-842-3442.
Following the tragic events of September 11th, there have been hundreds of violent attacks against innocent Americans.
Remember what that flag you're waving stands for.
Remember, please stop the hate.
We're stronger when we are united.
Remember what that flag you're waving stands for.
One nation under God.
Indivisible.
With liberty
and justice
for all.
In America, there's either room for everyone, or it's not America. Don't pick the wrong fight.
Let's keep America land of the free.
Stop the hate. Planning a home renovation? Put this at the top of your to-do list. Because after 10 years, none of you are protected against tetanus and another potentially fatal disease, diphtheria. A minor injury, such as a cut or a scrape, can put you at risk for a tetanus infection. And while safety gear offers some protection, an up-to-date vaccination called the TD booster is the best insurance against tetanus. So get the TD booster. If it's been 10, do it again.
Welcome back. We're with the Inside Scoop Virginia. My name is Shannon Sullivan, and tonight's topic is the senior citizens and security issues, fraud, scams, and all of those crimes perpetrated against our seniors. I have with me Juanita Balenger. You're with the Office of the Virginia Attorney General, your Community Outreach Coordinator. Right before the break, we were talking about the crimes that are prevented via, I believe, the mail, and we're talking about charity organizations. And I want to get into that, but I also want to make sure that our listeners know that they can join our conversation. The number is 571-749-1166. We've had a couple calls come in that, I don't know, due to technical difficulties, they got dropped, but we definitely want to hear from you. Hopefully it's not a crime that's been perpetrated against you, but maybe you have anecdotal evidence on how to prepare yourselves and have preventative measures and not have these crimes come your way. About those charities, about the mail fraud. I think I cut you a little bit short before the break.
Well, yes. We were talking about the sweepstakes letters, and pretty much if you did not enter a sweepstakes, then you should not be receiving a letter saying that you've won. So just be skeptical of these letters that are coming in. Check out the organization, do your homework. Do not fall prey to their solicitation that you have to send in a processing fee of $2,500, because that's how they make their money, off these so-called fees. And then they move on and you never see your $10,000. And or you send that money in and they may send you a check. They may send you a check for a couple $1,000, but then they keep soliciting you to send in more money, and it just keeps building and building. And once you answer one of these letters, you end up on the SECR list, and the word starts getting around that, hey, we've got a victim here.
And it keeps snowballing from there.
It keeps snowballing, and you keep getting more letters. Another area are these foreign lottery scams. It's first off, it's illegal. It's against federal law. So two things. One, if you participate and respond, you're breaking the law. And two, you're never going to win because, again, the money is not there for you to get.
And the lotteries are offering, free, kind of the inroad to a get-rich-quick scheme. We're going to beat the odds. So of course it sounds, very enticing, and people should know that it's against, the American law to purchase overseas lottery tickets, and it's not legitimate. There is no way to beat the odds.
Yeah, they make it sound glamorous that you're part of a secret system and you're going to be...
And the international aura of it all.
Living an exotic lifestyle. And, again, if it sounds too good to be true, it is.
Absolutely, and we have a consumer affairs number for the Virginia Attorney General's office, so if you've had any of those crimes, maybe you have had a phone call, a piece of mail, I know that they're always interested in knowing what's going on locally.
Yeah. Getting back real quick to the phone call, just have a plan if you get one of these phone calls. You're not being rude, you're just being shrewd with these individuals on the phone. Again, it's your phone, your time. You're in control. Just have a plan to get off the phone.
Yeah. And we actually had an emailer that wrote in and said, if you're hiring people, we were talking about people that come to the door, the contractors for your home improvements, take a picture of the worker. So you have. I thought that was a nice little suggestion. So maybe something gets filed, there's a lawsuit or some sort of investigation later on, you're able to contribute.
Exactly.
So I thought that was a very good suggestion.
That is good.
Thank you. I think that now we're going to dive into a big area. It's a kind of, not a newer area, but the technological aspect of frauds. It makes it so easy via the internet and email to not just prey upon seniors. These are sophisticated scams that, can prey upon anyone that's vulnerable enough. I know I have an email box that's full of them each and every day from, selling me God knows what, but also trying to solicit me for a vast number of, organizations, charities, lotteries, as we said, and there's a lot of susceptibility for our seniors. Not just, I don't want to say that seniors are not as familiar with the internet, but I think that there's some good precautions that we can put out there for everyone. Maybe let's start with purchasing something over the internet.
All right, let's get into that with internet purchasing. Certainly any reputable retail firm will have a URL at the top toolbar that says HTTPS. Look for that S at the end that indicates it's a secured website. And when you're on there, make sure that there's a privacy seal on there. It's like a little yellow padlock, or look for symbols like VeriSign or the Better Business Bureau Online Reliability Seal. And when you're making these purchases online, make sure to print your receipt and compare that with your credit card statement when you get that in the mail, or if you do your payment of bills online, because the Fair Credit Billing Act does protect your rights if there are charges, unauthorized charges on your statement known as cramming. And what you would need to do is call, whether, let's say, Visa or MasterCard, and dispute that. You'll have to put that in writing, and then they will contact the vendor. And if it's a scam artist, they're not going to be able to prove that they did sell that product.
So always print the receipt, know exactly who you're purchasing it from, and have those identifying markers, whether it's the Better Business Bureau, VeriSign, a secured network. A lot of times it says it's encrypted, so that they know when you're putting in your personal information, it's not going
your credit card number
into the vast world of cyberspace.
Well, not only that, but if you are giving, if you're purchasing something online and it's not a reputable retailer or merchant, and you're giving your credit card, that also opens the door to identity theft, which maybe we'll get into a little bit of that.
Well, we might as well start on that a little bit here. There's so much, there's simple ways that you can give away information that you don't think it's divulging too much. Maybe it starts with your email address. Maybe it's your physical address. But the information that slowly can build a portfolio of information that people can start to steal your information. Are there tactics people can use to prevent getting that information out to the public?
Well, they just need to be careful. What these scam artists are looking for are your name, your address, your social security number, credit card, bank account information. These are all items that are very personal to you. And if you're giving that to an identity thief, victims almost feel a sense of rape, that their personal information has been taken from them.
Wonderful. I'm going to take a break from the internet portion for just a second. I want to welcome Pat Lucas. He is with the, let me get your title correct, the Fairfax County Police Crime Prevention Unit. Thank you for joining us today, Pat.
Thank you.
We've been talking about a whole slew of fraud and the prevention. That's we're trying to educate our seniors. What is exactly your role, and how does it fit into the prevention aspect, obviously, but specifically with our seniors in the Fairfax community?
Well, I am one of 16 crime prevention officers that work for Fairfax County. We have 2 at each of our district stations, and I am currently assigned as one of the 2 at the McLean District Station. We primarily are responsible for our community outreach programming. We do our Neighborhood Watch program, and recently we've been trying to reinvigorate our triad program through establishing what's called SALT councils. I'm not sure if you all went over those.
Yes, we did.
Each of our district stations, we're trying to establish one of these SALT councils. And so my role would be kind of as a leader in establishing those meetings at our stations. And so each station has their own calendar set up, so if anyone was interested in participating, they would just have to contact their local district station, and they could be helped through that. But if they just ask for any of the crime prevention officers at the station, they would be put in touch with that if they're interested.
So you're definitely on the receiving end of knowing what's going on locally?
Yeah, we pretty much have our finger on the pulse of what's happening, current trends and patterns, and we like to try to stay ahead of it as best we can with emerging trends and patterns.
Which I think all of us now would like to encourage folks to get involved, whether you're a senior yourself, maybe you deal with seniors, you're a caregiver, or you work in an industry that works with seniors, to get involved with Triad or your local SALT group, so that you can know what's going on, and you can also feed back to the law enforcement in the community, and be able to get the best resources at your disposal. Maybe you can give us some real-life stories. What comes across your desk?
It varies on day to day. It's hard to come up with a story off the top of your head. But any type of activity where taking out the garbage per se, you just never know who's looking for that kind of material in garbage and trash, and it's not an issue that's hot right now as far as garbage can collecting, but it's the simple things that people don't realize.
Well, it's actually something we hadn't mentioned. We were talking about identity theft.
Right.
And I know I get a lot of solicitations, shred your information before you throw it away.
Even our grocery stores, we do, from time to time, we'll have people that take the opportunity to victimize people with this simple things as going to the grocery store, where they distract you and ask you for help when you're reading something. And so doing things like keeping your purse or wallet zipped.
Okay.
Don't put things in the shopping cart. Try not to be distracted when you're doing that kind of thing. Especially with the holiday season now coming up, it's easy to do that. We get in our mind what we're doing and where we're going, and we forget about the simple things as far as keeping
true.
our
We've been
stuff
hitting,
out there.
you know, as we go along, a lot of those holiday concerns, because there's a lot of people that are in the shopping malls, and a lot of concerns of your physical safety, but also, you know, your pocketbook, your wallet. Make sure that you are aware of your surroundings and know where your money is at all times.
Well, it's important. I think now in this day and age, financial crime, credit card theft, I can get far more from your credit card than I can from taking it from your person. Most people don't carry a lot of cash with them, and so something as simple as a credit card, I can get, you know, several thousands of dollars worth of stuff. Whereas if, you know, I tried to get your wallet or your purse, I may end up with $20 or $30. So
yeah, that's true. Also, as people are going into to restaurants and even the shopping malls themselves, be aware of where your credit card is being swiped. You know, not that we should, you know, be wary of every single person in every situation, but there's manners, I'm not sure what the term is, to
skimming.
Skimming. I was
It's
going to say
little
scamming,
box.
but what is that exactly?
It's a little box, and you give your credit card to your waiter or waitress, and then they go off and they can swipe that card in this little box. I mean, I could have it attached to my waist under my jacket. Nobody would even know. And I can, within seconds, capture your credit card number and go off and, you know, commit fraud and make purchases and rack up several $1,000s before you realize it.
So it's good to keep an eye on where your credit card is going when you're cashing out, whether it's a transaction in the shopping malls or at a restaurant. I know that there's a lot of distractions come the holiday season that we need to be aware of.
And again, it's important to make sure you get receipts when you're making all these purchases to reconcile that with your credit card statements.
Wonderful. Do you have a lot of concerns when it comes to seniors and their physical safety? I know I've read a lot about that being a concern. Is it something that comes across your desk as an actual, something that's being perpetrated?
There's a lot of fear in some cases when especially if they live by themselves and they're alone. It can become very scary. You know, things to remember: don't open doors for strangers and that type of thing. It's very common sense kind of things, but people just kind of forget it. And they're very trusting of people, and so
absolutely,
it's important to keep in mind the basics.
Yeah, I bring it up not to try to put a dark cloud over the conversation, but statistics have it as a top 1 or 2 concern among seniors is physical safety and violent crimes being perpetrated against them. Statistically, that's not the case. They're not usually the victims of those most violent offenses. It doesn't lessen the fear necessarily, which is why we're trying to talk about the self-awareness and the prevention that we can provide to seniors.
And actually, a lot of our senior crime is committed by people that they know and trust. It's that opportunity portion of what we teach in prevention.
That's a very sad reality.
And family members and other people that do that take advantage of their family member.
All right, well, we're going to be back in just a few moments, talk a little bit more about internet security and fraud being perpetrated against our seniors and how we can prepare ourselves against those offenses. Right back in a moment.
Too many women get hit by their boyfriends and husbands. Too many women are pressured into having unprotected sex. Half of the people in the world living with AIDS are women. It doesn't have to be this way. Together, we can change this reality. Let's strive for a world free of violence.
At Volunteers of America, we don't just give kids a way to stay off the streets. We give them the tools they need to reach their full potential. We don't just help the elderly receive needed care. We help them live life to the fullest. We don't just provide food for homeless individuals and families. We provide job training and placement so they can buy groceries. Volunteers of America is a national organization that for over 100 years has provided programs and services that allow people to overcome their challenges to become vital members of their community. At Volunteers of America, we don't just help people, we help people help themselves. Find out how you can support the programs that are working in your community. Contact Volunteers of America today. Call 1-800-899-0089.
Drivers face all kinds of distractions.
Guys, stop playing now. 127 consecutive.
Before your wireless phone becomes one of them, stop. Drive safely. Keep your phone in easy reach and dial sensibly. In bad weather or traffic, call later and use a hands-free device. Remember, with wireless, safety is your call.
Welcome back to the Virginia Inside Scoop. I have with me Juanita Balenger. You're with the Office of the Virginia Attorney General. And I also have Pat Lucas with the Fairfax County Police Department. We've been talking about a wide variety of issues affecting seniors, specifically scams and frauds, and how to educate our seniors and also their caregivers on how to prepare ourselves and best approach our surroundings come this holiday season, and know what to look for as far as the frauds that are going to be out there waiting to lay us victim. I think we've touched a little bit upon it, but I don't think we've gone into the greater depth that I want to, is identity theft. We talked about shredding our documents and making sure we don't put personal information out on the internet, but I think there's a little bit more that you wanted to hit on, Juanita.
Well, absolutely. Officer Lucas talked about use of a shredder and what you throw away. It's important to make sure you shred all that personal information, because that's what these thieves practice, known as dumpster diving, and that's what they're looking for. So it is important to get a shredder. Also, to prevent becoming a victim of identity theft, make sure you get a credit report. You can get it's called annualcreditreport.com, as opposed to free credit report, which is not free. But perhaps, and they do charge a fee, so beware that there is a difference between the two.
So we should restate that. What is the web address we should go to?
Annualcreditreport.com, where you can order and request a annual credit report from the 3 credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. But you may already have something with your bank and financial institution, and if you're paying a fee and you're happy with the service, that's great. But not everybody may have that, so just wanted to bring that up and make them aware of that. But there's just so many different ways out there to commit identity theft. Again, Officer Lucas mentioned about watching your purse, watching your wallet, especially at this time of the year, because that's what these thieves are looking for. Making sure that you are not clipping your bills to the mailbox. It's important to take your personal information in your envelopes to the post office. These thieves could go around to the mailboxes with the red flag up, or if you're clipping it to the mailbox.
Literally, a red flag up.
Yep, exactly.
A story too on the cards.
Please.
I was speaking to a group of seniors over in McLean, and they were telling me how the pastel envelopes around Easter time and the red greeting cards and things that we ship. In the holiday season, you do have postal employees and then maybe other people that are come into contact with that have opportunity. They realize and know a lot of times that they will put a check. So it's important not to send cash as much as we want to have that easy gift. Send, even gift cards and things like that can be susceptible, but not to send cash, because those envelopes stand out that there may be something, a prize inside.
So I guess our lesson there is a nondescript envelope for the holiday season.
Yeah,
a little less
or just
festive,
personally
perhaps.
delivering it if you can, but just or keep the quantities lower. But it's something to be aware of that it can happen. So.
It's a shame that it's preying upon our seniors, but a lot of what we're talking about as far as identity theft and all of these scams, anyone can be susceptible. I know that I get plenty of solicitation in the mail, on the phone. I half the time don't know what's legitimate or not. And I think that a certain degree of wariness and patience is advisable for any of these transactions. Let's see, a little bit more on the internet. We talked about online shopping. I don't think we've talked that much about emails.
Yes, spamming, spoofing, these are the emails that you get, you don't know who they're from, or it looks like it's from your bank or financial institution, asking to verify your social security number. Quick here, we need to verify your checking account, savings account information. No bank is going to be doing that. Or, for example,
well, I think we need to state that a little more emphatically. Your bank is not going to be sending you that type of information being emailed.
They already have that. I mean, when you went to your bank to open up your account, they already have that. They're not going to be sending you that email.
Are you sure it didn't just get lost? I mean, I think I get one of those solicitations every week.
Or same with government agencies. Back in the spring with the economic stimulus program, some people did fall prey from the email supposedly from the IRS saying, hey, you're going to be receiving a check. We need your checking account to deposit your check. That's not how the IRS operates. They knew exactly who they were mailing those checks to.
And I believe you mentioned earlier, we were discussing during the break, the new rise in debt solicitations.
Yes.
You know, trying to alleviate or assist you in the debt and also the debt collectors.
Debt collectors, also known as zombie debts. Perhaps you had a debt at one time and you did resolve that and you're debt-free now. But these debt collectors are calling in and they use scare tactics and intimidation, and they will pressure you that you must pay up several $1,000s, and if you report it to the police or you let anybody know, they're going to file a lawsuit against you, and they just want you to keep quiet about it, and they just want you to send the money in immediately. So if you get those types of calls, you can certainly notify the Office of Consumer Affairs and report that to the Federal Trade Commission as well.
Wonderful. We do have a number for the Office of the Virginia Attorney General with that Consumer Affairs number.
Correct.
And also, in addition to those debt collectors, I think with the crunching economy, those that are offering to help you refinance your house or helping you to, you're nodding your head over there, Patrick. Have you heard a lot of those solicitations?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. They anyone that can sneak in, figure out an opportunity or a way to get someone to give you. And the other important thing too is you shouldn't have to pay anything to get anything in return. So if someone's saying that you're eligible for a prize, if we just need you to pay a little bit of money for shipping or whatever, they're all scams, especially in the email. I don't know how many emails I get on a daily basis in my fairfaxcounty.gov email address from Nigeria, from Britain. I've gotten the banks, they're very clever. I get my bank, Navy Federal, Pentagon Federal, I get from all this area, so they know geographically where we are, and then they try to trick you because they know there's a good chance that one of these banks may be your bank, and so they give them a try. So you'll get crazy emails, and it looks very much like yours.
I've seen stuff for scholarship information. I don't click on it, but I'm only curious as to where that is leading. Personal information for those that are looking for money for school. Budgets are tight, and that's one of the areas that I'm sure can lure people in.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, the best thing to do is monitor your credit. Get those credit reports in check to see what's on your record and what your accounts have you down for, and making sure that there's not stuff out there, and question that, follow through on that process if something doesn't look right.
And it probably goes without saying, but if you're doing any sort of online banking, transactions over the internet, have separate passwords, that doesn't have your mother's maiden name, your pet, or the street you live on, something that is a unique identifier for your name and for your password, and that it's different for each account, so that you aren't victim to those type of scams.
Correct. You can use a combination of letters and numbers. So all these emails we've been talking about is referred to as phishing. If people have heard the word phishing, but they weren't quite sure, just like farming, misdirecting you to fraudulent websites. And we do have more information on that on our website at vaag.com.
Wonderful. I believe we have that web address and also the consumer protection hotline number that do feel free to call if you have any concerns with scams or fraud or even preventative measures. And how you can get involved with your local SALT chapter and Triad as well. So we've talked about the internet theft, or the identity theft over the internet, a lot of the consumer fraud and telemarketing. We've also talked about, the door-to-door solicitations and also the mail that comes our way. What do you see that we can put out there for our seniors that can give them a little bit more self-reliance in how they approach maybe the holiday season? Patrick?
Self-reliance. Trust your instincts. Again, nothing is free. We've had seniors taking in the bait and switch where they'll say, I found some money and I need to put it in my bank account, and so they'll show you money, and then they'll switch it with a bag of newspaper or something, and you think that you're getting this money, and it ends up being a bag of paper or something.
And
like
a lot of people are going about the holiday season with increased goodwill toward their charities, more trusting or wishing to extend goodwill to all of humanity. And
in some cases, it's best just to ask for information. You want to contribute to their cause, ask them for a pamphlet or a handout or some way that you can send something to them. Take control over that transaction. Your goodwill, it's there for them, but you're not comfortable just giving them something. Because it's hard, especially around the season, because they do come out of the woodwork, and with the economy being the way it is now, there's lots of people trying to go out. I mean, it wouldn't take much to take a red bucket out and pretend to be the Salvation Army, but you trust your instincts and your gut feelings on those things, and you'll do well by yourself.
Yeah. And there are resources out there, as we've been discussing over this past hour, agencies to verify these individuals, these organizations. I would like to mention that we have the Virginia Consumers Guide that is available on our website, or viewers can call our office and request a copy of the guide, but it is online and it's a great resource, and we list a lot of agencies that they can contact for information. And also for identity theft, we publish a separate guide, how to avoid identity theft and what to do if you are a victim. If you are a victim, certainly file a police report.
Definitely file a police report. That's the first step of the process.
Paper trail.
They're going to ask you for some sort of a case number from a law enforcement agency.
Wonderful.
They need that buy-in. So.
We have some information that was coming up on your screen. It's top 10 scams reported by the Attorney General. It's at www.vaag.com. And you can get some more information there, and also about the Triad Conference that's coming up this Thursday, the 20th. Make sure to register as soon as possible. And I think we've learned a lot in this last hour about senior security and how to protect ourselves against scams and fraud. Thank you so much, Juanita.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick, for joining us today.
Thank you very much.